Hi, this is Miss Vital, and this is a podcast meant for my AP Biology students on the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is made of lymphatic vessels and lymphoid tissues and organs. Lymphatic vessels pick up excess tissue, fluid, which is called lymph, and return it to the bloodstream. Lymph nodes remove foreign material like bacteria and tumor cells from lymph and produce lymphocytes, which are for immunity. Lymph nodes contain macrophages, which engulf and destroy bacteria, viruses, and foreign material. Lymph nodes also contain lymphocytes, which are a type of white blood cell, and they respond to foreign substances. The spleen is a blood-rich organ that filters blood. It cleanses the blood of bacteria, viruses, and other debris. It destroys worn-out red blood cells, and it stores platelets and acts as a blood reservoir. The thymus gland functions at peak during youth. It is low in the throat above the heart. It produces hormones that program certain lymphocytes so they can carry out immunity. Tonsils are in the throat. They trap and remove pathogens entering the throat. Peyer's patches are found in the wall of the small intestine. They capture bacteria and prevent them from penetrating the intestine. Now let's talk about the immune system. Every second of every day, an army of hostile bacteria, viruses, and fungi swarm on our skin and invade our inner passageways. Yet we still stay amazingly healthy most of the time. The body defends itself in two ways: nonspecific and specific defense systems. Nonspecific respond immediately against all foreign substances. Specific includes the immune system and attacks particular substances. Nonspecific body defenses include mechanical barriers and chemicals that are the initial defenses against pathogens. Pathogens are harmful or disease-causing microorganisms. The first line of defense is our skin and mucous membranes. They act as physical barriers and produce protective chemicals. For example, acidic skin secretions inhibit bacterial growth. Sebum contains antibacterial chemicals. Stomach acid and protein digesting enzymes also work to kill pathogens. Lysosomes in saliva kill bacteria, and the sticky mucus in the respiratory and digestive trap and get rid of pathogens. The second line of defense is when pathogens make it through the first line of defense. Phagocytes are in nearly every organ. They engulf foreign material through endocytosis. Macrophages and neutrophils are examples. The particle is enclosed in a vacuole and fuses with the lysosome, which, as you know, contains digestive enzymes, and therefore it is digested. Natural killer cells are found in our blood and lymph. These are lymphocytes that can lyse and kill cancer cells and virus-infected body cells. They are less picky than the lymphocytes of the immune system. Perforins are natural killer cells that release perforins, which lyse the cell membrane. The inflammatory response is a nonspecific response to injured tissues. There are 4 signs of inflammation: redness, heat, swelling, and pain. When cells are injured, they release histamine and kinins. This causes blood vessels in an area to dilate and capillaries become leaky, which contributes to the redness and the heat. Edema is swelling that is a product of these capillaries becoming leaky and an increase of fluid built up in the area. Histamine and kinins also activate pain receptors. They attract phagocytes and white blood cells to the area, which is a process called chemotaxis. The inflammatory response prevents the spread of damaging agents to nearby tissues, disposes of cell debris and pathogens, and sets the stage for repair. The body's most important antimicrobial chemicals, apart from those produced in the inflammatory response, are complement proteins and interferon. Complement proteins are over 20 plasma proteins that circulate in the blood in an active stage. When a complement attaches to a foreign cell, it is activated, resulting in the membrane attack complexes that produce lesions, with holes in foreign cell surfaces. Water enters and the cell bursts. It also results in the amplification of the inflammatory response and the release of vasodilators, which increase the size of the blood vessels in the area, and chemotaxis chemicals, which draw other chemicals to the area. Interferon is secreted by virus-infected cells. It diffuses into nearby cells and binds to the membrane receptors, which hinder the cell from becoming infected with the virus. Fever also acts to fight pathogens. A mild fever can be beneficial, although a high fever is dangerous because it denatures enzymes. Bacteria require large amounts of iron and zinc to multiply. The fever causes the liver and the spleen to gather up these nutrients, making them unavailable to the bacteria. Fever also increases metabolism, which speeds up repair. Specific body defenses include the immune system. This is a protection that is specifically targeted against specific antigens. There are three important aspects of the immune response. It is antigen specific, therefore it recognizes and acts against particular pathogens or foreign substances. It is systemic. Immunity is not restricted to the initial infection site and spreads throughout the body. It has memory. It recognizes and mounts even stronger attacks on previously encountered pathogens. There are two types of immunity. Humoral immunity is when antibody-mediated immunity provided by antibodies present in the body fluid. Cell-mediated immunity is lymphocyte-dependent. Cellular targets are virus-infected cells, cancer cells, or cells of foreign grafts. The lymphocytes direct the lysis of cells or indirectly with chemicals. An antigen is any substance capable of exciting the immune system and provoking an immune response. They are large, complex molecules considered non-self. Crucial cells of the immune system are lymphocytes and macrophages. Lymphocytes are B cells and T cells. B cells produce antibodies and oversee humoral immunity. T cells are non-antibody producing and they are involved in cell-mediated immunity. Lymphocytes originate from hemocytoblasts in the red bone marrow. Lymphocytes mature and determine if it becomes a B cell or a T cell. T cells arise from lymphocytes that migrate to the thymus and they mature in 2 to 3 days. B cells arise from the lymphocytes in the bone marrow. Macrophages form from monocytes in the red bone marrow. They nonspecifically engulf foreign particles. Then they present the fragments of the antigen on their surface, which are recognized by T cells, therefore acting as antigen presenters. They also secrete monokinins, which are kinin proteins or cytokinin proteins. Activated T cells release chemicals that cause macrophages to become killer macrophages, which are insatiable phagocytes. Humoral or antibody-mediated immune responses are when a B cell binds to an antigen and clonal selection is activated. Clonal selection is when B cells grow and multiply rapidly to form an army of cells that have the same antigen-specific receptors. These cells are clones. Primary humoral response is the production of clones. Most of the B cell clones become plasma cells. The plasma cells begin producing the specific antibody about 2,000 per second for 4 to 5 days. Therefore, during the primary response, antibody levels peak at about 10 days. B cell clones that don't become plasma cells become memory cells. They live longer and respond to antigens later in the secondary humoral response. These responses are faster, longer, and more effective because all the preparation for the attack has been made. Within hours of recognition of an old enemy antigen, thousands of plasma cells are formed. Blood levels peak in 2 to 3 days.